Thank you for attending Private Ocean's webinar, Rebuilding Your Financial Life After Divorce. Before we get started, there are a couple of administrative items. You'll note that this session is being recorded. We do have everyone muted for the duration of the webinar. Unfortunately, we won't have time for questions during the presentation today, but we'll be happy to address them after the call. My name is Lisa Peters. My colleague, Kelly Keidel, and I will be presenting today. We are both certified financial planners and have the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst credential. Kelly, would you like to say a few words about Private Ocean?
Sure, thank you, Lisa. Some of you attending today may be Private Ocean clients, and if so, welcome. For those who are not familiar with our firm, welcome to you also, and let me give you a quick overview. Private Ocean is a West Coast-based wealth management firm. Our goal is to provide the kind of personal service you might receive at a smaller boutique firm with the depth of knowledge from a much larger one, hence our name, Private Ocean. We have approximately $1.6 billion under management. We have over 35 employees and offices in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as in Seattle. We are also fee-only fiduciaries. So a key takeaway of our presentation is that the process of rebuilding your financial life after divorce starts before the divorce is final. On our agenda today are some comments about the divorce landscape, what hasn't changed and what has changed over the past decade or two. We'll cover some critical strategies to follow to put yourself in the best possible position for an equitable settlement. And we'll also cover some next steps you can take after the divorce is final. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with our high-level assessment of the divorce landscape today. Lisa, can you share a little bit on what is new in the world of divorce today?
Sure. Increasingly, there's a greater acknowledgement in the legal community of the financial impact of one spouse delaying or putting their career on hold to take on the primary parenting role. Looking back a few decades, when I began my practice, I met divorced women who had come from 20-plus year marriages, hadn't worked outside the home, and in reviewing their financial settlements, the maintenance awards I saw were insufficient to help them with career development, and as a result, they would face a dramatically weaker financial situation than their ex-spouse. So this was a call to action to me to work more closely with attorneys and clients to address financial issues before the divorce is final. Also, back then, there were few advisors with special expertise in divorce. Fortunately, now it is more common to use a certified divorce financial analyst to fill this need. A second development we might note here is the increased use of the collaborative divorce process in settling cases. Absent a formal collaborative approach, clients and attorneys frequently find themselves in contentious negotiations and sitting in settlement conferences negotiating for many long hours, with the mediator pushing them to compromise to avoid going to an expensive trial. In collaborative law, attorneys and their clients formally agree up front to work cooperatively rather than taking adversarial stances. This way, there's more potential for civil discussions, open communication, and a feeling of control for clients. Lastly, we'd like to note that there's a significant tax law change for decrees that are final after January 1st, 2019. Maintenance, which is also called alimony, is no longer taxable to the recipient or deductible by the payer. Previously, a divorcing couple could use maintenance to shift income from the higher earner to the lower earner in a lower tax bracket to enjoy some tax savings. Unfortunately, at this point, after January 1st, that technique is no longer available, although existing maintenance orders are not affected. Kelly, can you explain what's new in the divorce landscape?
Sure. So we know that divorce impacts both women and men. When we're talking about what isn't new, one thing that has not changed much is that women are still typically living longer than men. In the United States, men live to an average age of about 76.5 years, average age of 81.5 years. Another factor that hasn't changed so much is that women frequently earn less than men. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, women are still earning about 80 cents for every $1 earned by men. This means that there's often a greater demand on resources for women than for men, and this can be compounded by the fact that women are typically the primary caregivers for the family. Finally, in the course of sharing responsibilities, it is still very common to see the role of financial manager in a relationship taken on by just one spouse. The spouse who takes a back seat, who is not the financial manager, will typically have less financial wherewithal and potentially less understanding of the couple's finances. This might put that individual at a disadvantage, especially in the divorce negotiation process. In fact, a recent survey found that 1 in 5 respondents took a backseat to their spouse regarding financial decisions. This causes us a lot of concern because many of them may be unaware of total marital debt. They may not be anticipating the need to return to the workforce, or they may assume that child support and maintenance will last longer than it actually does. So now that we've covered some factors that are new and some that haven't changed so much in the divorce landscape, let's move on to critical strategies that might improve the financial outcome in your divorce. We've identified 4 strategies that we believe are crucial to successfully getting through your divorce and being in a secure place as you move into the next phase of your life. The first of these critical strategies is to assemble your team as early in the divorce process as possible. What do we mean by team? This is the team of experts that will help to guide you through the divorce and may include, first of all, a counselor or therapist to provide emotional support. It may include a career specialist, particularly if you are unemployed or underemployed. There will often be a mediator to assist with the negotiations. Also, a financial expert, such as a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst or a Certified Financial Planner. And most importantly on your team is an experienced family law attorney. We strongly recommend that you get legal advice. So although you will likely have friends, family, or coworkers who have had direct experience with divorce and will want to share their experience and information with you, it's important that you get your own legal advice and work with an experienced family law attorney. We also strongly recommend that you not feel pressured into agreeing to issues until you are ready and you've consulted with a professional. So again, someone from your team of experts. Lisa, do you want to talk about another mission critical strategy?
Sure. We advocate that you fully participate in creating a framework for your long-term plan, even as you're going through divorce. This is your first draft of a plan for the future. The first step involves financial discovery. You'll be gathering details about your financial resources, income, expenses, assets, and debts, so that you and your team understand all aspects of the financial picture. A second step involves identifying your important financial issues. Examples might include, what is the ideal housing situation going forward? What about expenses for minor and college-bound children? Are there differences in each spouse's earnings and benefits package? And related to that, is a career transition plan going to be important for future financial security? What options might exist for medical insurance coverage? Concurrently, we educate. We want to help you anticipate and avoid any unpleasant surprises. Include explaining how 401ks work in dividing property. We might discuss the pros and cons of splitting a pension. How are Social Security benefits divided? What about drawing from investments soon after the divorce for meeting living expenses? What will that mean for long-term financial security? Truly, this is a lot of work and may seem overwhelming. I highly recommend keeping a notebook and record everything that concerns you or you have questions about. You will systematically find answers and solutions by the time your divorce is final. Kelly, could you speak to the emotional toll that divorce takes?
Sure. So it may seem obvious, but it's important to recognize that divorce is a very emotionally trying time. You're likely going to feel a spectrum of emotions, such as anger, disappointment, sadness, anxiety coming from all of the uncertainty that you're facing, and hopefully at some point excitement for the opportunities and possibilities in front of you. These emotions can cloud your ability to make decisions and to weigh the consequences of those decisions. Your personal support network will be there to help you cope with the emotional aspects, and your divorce team, that group of experts, is there to guide you through to settlement so that you can then begin rebuilding your life. Lisa, do you want to talk about the fourth critical strategy?
Yes, we'd like to note some areas of things to avoid, if possible. Speaking of emotions, we would advise not to let emotions rule when it comes to deciding what to do about the residence. It's natural to think of the home as a place of security and stability, just as life is changing in a big way. But we urge everyone to weigh the pros and cons, including the true cost of maintaining the home, including the mortgage, real estate taxes, general upkeep and maintenance, the cost of selling, including possible tax consequences, and finally, the risk of taking the residence when it might make up the largest part of your financial settlement. I can recount a situation in which one spouse kept the home in a 2007 divorce. She had planned to keep it only a few years and not necessarily reinvest in another home. When it came time to sell the property, values were 25% lower than at the time the residence was valued. She hadn't considered the possibility of this, but had the wherewithal, fortunately, to wait until the housing market recovered. Another false assumption people make early on, often before they have obtained good legal advice, is to assume assets are split 50-50 down the middle. Excluding short marriages and uneven property division might be more equitable, as in the case where one spouse has a much greater income earning capacity than the other. Another word of warning is to not procrastinate in working out a detailed career plan if that is something important to your long-term financial security. The financial settlement ideally should be molded around a career transition plan so that there isn't any shortfalls or unexpected depletion of assets. Finally, it could be harmful not to closely consider the consequences of taking different types of property in the settlement. I had someone come in to see me after their divorce was final, wondering if it were possible to withdraw funds from a retirement account to purchase a residence. It would have been a very expensive way to go with taxes and penalties in excess of 35%. These sort of options should be fully vetted before the divorce is final. Kelly, can you elaborate on next steps?
So after the divorce is complete, the important work starts of helping you to formalize your plan for the future. We want to just cover some key items that we believe you should attend to once your divorce is complete. The first of these is to attend to what we call post-divorce details, and they may include such items as 1, transferring account balances as indicated in the divorce decree. You may also need to retitle property. If one of you has moved out of your primary residence, then you would need to take that individual off the title. You might need to change beneficiary designations. Most often, we will name our spouse as the primary beneficiary on our retirement accounts and on our life insurance. With the divorce completed, these designations likely need to be changed. And on a similar note, with regard to estate planning documents, we often again will name our spouse in our will as a primary beneficiary. So that may need to be updated in addition to looking at who is the executor and or the administrator for your estate. And then in addition to these details, we think that it's important to also review your medical insurance. Do you have the appropriate coverage? Were you taken off benefits that might have been available through your now ex-spouse? So evaluating medical insurance coverage and also possibly changing tax withholding. So in addition to attending to the details, you'll probably need to refine and or modify your financial plan so that it reflects what's in your final divorce settlement. So this might include a review of the spending plan, your expenses and sources of income. What are they now, given the divorce is final? It might also include refining upcoming short-term goals. Again, do you have a child that's going off to college? Or are you looking at putting your home up for sale? There could be preparatory work for a career transition, such as returning to school or a training program and looking at the costs of doing that. And then finally, it's very important to ensure that you've established appropriate cash reserves. Now, in conjunction with the plan, redefining your investment strategy so that it is consistent with your own individual risk temperament, your time horizon, and personal values is very important. Prior to the divorce, the financial plan and the investment strategy reflected what was important to you and your spouse, taking into account joint resources and joint factors. After the divorce, again, it should represent what is most important to you. The final next step that we want to mention is that we strongly recommend that you monitor and adjust your financial plan and investment strategy on an ongoing basis. We know that life is not static. It does not stand still. You will have other transitions or life changes, and your plan should be adjusted accordingly. Your financial expert, again, a certified financial planner or CDFA, will be there to partner with you as you navigate future life transitions. So to sum this all up, we firmly believe that the best strategy for a strong financial future begins before your divorce is final. We encourage you to seek out financial guidance early, assembling your team and putting yourself on a path to not only a successful divorce outcome, but also a successful start to the rest of your life. Lisa, this would be a great time to go into more detail on the role of CDFAs and how we might serve prospective clients during and after divorce.
The role of a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst brings financial expertise to clients and attorneys to educate how the financial decisions made in the divorce could impact the client's financial future. There are many CDFAs that work strictly with clients during the divorce only, with no ongoing advisory relationship or services provided after the divorce is final. At Private Ocean, we use our experience and expertise as CDFAs in a more expansive role. We provide education and guidance not only during divorce, but continue to work with clients to refine the financial and investment plan going forward. Not every situation warrants hiring a CDFA. In more straightforward situations with simpler property issues, an experienced family law attorney and your existing financial advisor or CPA may be the only help you need. So with that, we would like to thank everyone for attending today. We welcome questions. Please email us at info@privateocean.com or contact one of us directly at www.privateocean.com.